Do you ever feel unhappy, unmotivated, unable to get out of bed, or even unable to enjoy life, but you don't even know why? Well, you may have a mental disorder. Although there are many other mental illnesses out there and hundreds of other symptoms that I didn't include, and I am no doctor, but it's important that if you feel like you believe you're different than others and you think differently, that you become self-aware. It's also important to understand that having a mental illness is really common, and it's important to receive the help you or a loved one needs. And there's nothing to be ashamed of or hide. Hi, my name's Sarah Driscoll, and I will be doing a problem solution persuasive speech on mental illness as a whole. First, I will define and describe the problem. Then I will describe the cost and consequences of mental illness. And lastly, I will offer different solutions for this problem and persuade you guys why it's important to not let a mental illness be untreated. To start off, according to the Webster's Dictionary on April 17, 2020, the definition of a mental illness is a mental condition marked primarily by sufficient disorganization of personality, mind, and emotions to seriously impair the normal psychological and often social functioning of the individual. Mental health can affect daily living, relationships, and even your physical health. Mental illness can be as serious as any other condition, such as heart disease or diabetes. There are many mental illnesses out there, over 200 in the world, and they all need to be taken seriously because they can lead to awful consequences if untreated. Additionally, according to the ConstellationBehavioralHealth.com access on April 17, 2020, written on March 27, 2019, the public cost of untreated mental illness includes substance use disorders, overdoses, suicides, economic cost of healthcare, and loss of productivity. For individuals, these costs are experienced personally as broken relationships, poor performance at school and work, and poor physical health. As you can see, these are really serious costs, and they can be life-threatening. According to that same website stated before, adults with one or more mental illness on average die 20 years earlier than those without. That's a big, significant statistic. Untreated mental illnesses can lead to poor management, such as missing important doctor's appointments, ignoring symptoms, and making bad lifestyle choices. Luckily, mental illnesses are highly treatable, and there are many solutions that are already available. There is a lot of hope for everybody who is struggling. I highly consider you get the help that you deserve if you are struggling. According to the MayoClinic.org access on April 17, 2020, mental illness solutions include medication, psychotherapy, brain stimulation treatments, hospital and residential treatment centers, substance misuse treatment centers, like rehabilitation centers, and personal self-care. This includes meditation, taking walks, eating the right food, avoiding foods like caffeine and sugar, getting enough sleep, getting enough exercise. These solutions are already established though. However, I will be providing some solutions that I think may work as well. First, I believe that we need to raise more awareness of this problem. By this, I mean that students in middle school should be required to take an introduction psychology class specifically for mental disorders. This is so that the students can learn about the cost and consequences, but not as in-depth yet. And later on in high school, I believe that they should take a more in-depth psychology class regarding mental illnesses. This is very important, I believe, because it teaches children that they're not alone. How important it is to get help because the consequences can be deadly. This is also important because it teaches kids that not everybody is normal and you may not know what's going on in somebody's mind or head and you don't know what they're going through. So it teaches children to be respectful and to treat others the way that they want to be treated. It also teaches children to be kind and considerate to others at a young age if we start If we have them start to learn these serious issues in middle school, then they'll grow up to be more considerate. According to a personal interview on one of my family's members that has a mental illness, they believe that you shouldn't need insurance to cover hospital visits or medication. They believe that this is due for mental illness. They believe that it should be free to anybody who is struggling because it is not their fault. Another solution that could potentially work would be to develop a more in-depth question forum when you go to get your physical every year. So my doctor, I don't know if anybody else's doctors does this, but I have a 10 question about my feelings, if I'm able to get out of bed, if I'm motivated. However, I think that everybody should have to complete this, and I think it should be 25 to 50 questions instead of 10 questions, and they should be more in depth. In that case, so if a child has a mental illness that they don't believe that they do, then we'll catch the doctors would catch the problem early, so they don't have to go through the consequences of untreated disorders, mental disorders. I believe this is a good idea because it will help those who believe that they don't have the disorder, so they're stubborn. So if a doctor will go through the questionnaire and they'll say, oh, you have a 25 out of 30, you are eligible for medication, and maybe that patient will be a little mind blown, and if hearing it from a doctor, it'll motivate them more to get help. Mental health is just as important as physical health. That's why I believe it should be during your physical. In conclusion, I talked about what mental illness is, the cost and consequences of it all, along with solutions that are already established and some potential solutions that may work in the future. I hope I convince you guys to get help if you need it and to take mental health issues seriously. If you know someone or if you are struggling with mental health, I highly suggest that you get help. It's 100% necessary and okay. Thank you guys for listening. Have a great